Okay then, so let's therefore have a look at some of the information that were released about the DLC last week. Quite a bit of a welcome piece of information in general, and kind of like the depth of it. Wasn't entirely maybe expecting it that quickly, but well, that's also because of some of the information that has come with it. So the next chapter begins. Secure your place amongst the gods with the Age of Mythology Retold expansion pass on all-in-one collection of mythic content culminating in the arrival of the Aztec Pantheon in Obsidian Mirror. The most ambitious, we have already touched upon that. I mean, like, frankly, it's gonna be normal expansion. I guess they just have to be adding something extra in there. Maybe they are just gonna mean in because of hopefully getting the real sacrifice mechanism in there. So maybe that's why they actually mean in that front and on that front, and maybe that can be excused. Buy once and enjoy the next 4 releases automatically on their respective release dates. Just in case, for example, you were living under a rock and didn't know about the new DLCs coming up for Age of Mythology Retold. And here's everything included in the expansion pass, plus a close look at the first release, the Demeter God Pack. So, yeah, well, become the force of nature with the Demeter. That's gonna be the first one. Seems like this is gonna be there for the order of business, right? Ultimate Fan Pack is gonna be there next, with the extra graphics practically. Blood and Bones Pack, similar situation. Gonna be getting some further kind of graphical inclusions into the game. Unfortunately, the ones that we already had in the original game, I'm expecting that it's gonna be like a bit more brutal and a bit more visceral and whatnot here. But yeah, something they have removed just to be making the game a bit more PG after those 20 years. Now an Obsidian Mirror, that's gonna be of course the Rise of the Aztec Gods, the centerpiece of the expansion pass. So you can pre-order it wherever you play, Steam, Microsoft Store, or the Xbox, up to you. And you can be getting right now the exclusive, therefore, okay, they're just gonna repeat in that for some reason, but it's alright. But the exclusive pack, the Blood and Bones, is gonna be only with expansion pass. We already talked about that last time when the first information was released, that I'm slightly worried that if there's gonna be really the sacrifice mechanism added, that maybe only with this pack you're gonna be getting kind of the real deal. That if you're gonna be not having it, then it's gonna be somewhat of a, I don't know, PG-8 version, that maybe like a unit or villager is gonna be going into the temple and something happens, voila, you get favor. And if you're gonna be getting this pack, you're gonna be getting like the full animation of the sacrifice and whatever kind of nonsense is otherwise. I'm hoping that's not gonna be the case, but it kinda would be making sense from how games actually work nowadays. But maybe they're gonna be surprising us and this is gonna be only for just the units and the gore that we had in the original game and they removed, and now they're gonna be selling it back. Nah. Take your opinion on that, of course. Not great from my perspective. It's a bit kind of shame that it's an exclusive one. I'll be kind of liking that if it was for example added towards the DLC itself, for example, it would be kind of nice. Best would be of course given for free, but yeah, well, we're living in a certain world. But locking it away beyond the full Game Pass, that's leaving a bit of a sour taste, at least for me. But again, it's a small thing, and kind of in the end, who actually cares? I mean, like, the game is good enough as it is at this point, without needing some kind of millions of gallons of blood and everything. Valued, save 10%, sure, and pre-order bonus is gonna be 15% off therefore. And, oh, well, of course, convenient. So, for the cost, very surprised by that, because last time we were kind of guessing at Katirangs here that maybe it could be about 50, because it would be making sense for me based on overall the cost, because you could be imagining like 20 or 30 for a DLC, especially when they were touting it as a huge one, and wouldn't be surprised by even going higher. And then you would be having the Demeter, which also would be quite a bit expensive, and the others kind of like 5 maybe. So theoretically we could have gotten into like 50. That was kind of my guess, maybe like 60 before discount and 50 with. I'm thinking that they would have been, no, based on the reactions currently, very surprised by reactions that this is actually still considered too expensive for people. I don't get it. Like, I'm all against being fleeced by game developers, but this is legitimately cheap. Like, this is something I have to give like World's Edge props for. This price is actually very nice. Only 25.5 or 30 as the full release. Because when you think of it, you are gonna be having 20 for the DLC, Okay, there was some kind of error before. Didn't refresh it because I wanted to be showing the costs of the other DLCs. Right here. So the other DLCs costing 20, right? So you're gonna be therefore expecting 20 for the new DLC as well. New God, you don't have the Freyr here because he was like a bonus for the pre-order or for the deluxe edition, but you'll be expecting, based on the work, you could be thinking like $1 because it's very easy to do and not too many things to do. But regarding content and what we have gotten with Freyr, it's absolutely should be like half of the cost of the DLC. So about 10, that's where I'll be probably pricing it. So you have 20, 10, so that's 30 already. And the others are graphical bonuses, so that's like 5, right? Usually. If you would be wanting to be greedy, you could be giving 10, but I'll be thinking like 5. So even through those normal costs, you get into about like $40. So that's why I'm thinking that the 30 here is actually a really good cost. Unless the DLCs are gonna be a bit lower quality, but I can't imagine that with the civilization and the extra goddess. I don't think so. So yeah, I think this is a good cost. So I was very surprised when I saw, I think it was on Reddit, maybe people were complaining about the price. Like, what do they want? This one is a plus point, definitely for this. So that's some kind of idea, but there is also very interesting information further here. And that is when the things are coming, right? January, March, but here you have to be looking also at this. Coming 10th February. So therefore it seems like that at 10th February you're gonna be losing maybe the pre-order business. So it feels like it's gonna be the first DLC launched. And if this is therefore the order of business, very likely that it's going to be, then it means that maybe 10th February or thereabouts, we're gonna be getting the Demeter already. If I'm kind of wondering if it's maybe because they are not 100% certain if they're gonna be able to release it in the time frame. Could be. They just want to be giving themselves a bit of leeway, which would be smart thinking a bit. But yes, about 10th February, should be probably looking forward to maybe having something. And then January, March, no, well, that's just gonna be for all of them. Very surprising is that actually Obsidian Mirror is gonna be April, June. I was fully expecting that you're gonna be getting like a last DLC, like a real civilization, and therefore it's gonna be next year, like somewhere September and like the time for releasing the Age of Mythology Retold things. So this surprised me. This could be meaning that maybe there's gonna be something more after. Again, I'm fully expecting they're gonna be still doing the singular gods for the other civilizations. So 4th god for Egyptians and for Atlanteans. And at this point for the other pantheons as well. For the Japanese, Chinese, and well, the Aztecs, I guess. They're gonna be also probably launching with 3 only. Would be stupid to be doing the 4th one. So I do wonder what this is about, but I'll be very surprised if we got another full DLC. That one, even this one is a huge bonus for the community, and everybody should be feeling that it is a huge bonus considering the player numbers and everything. So yeah, but what I wanted to touch upon, I touched upon at the start of the stream, is that the cost. I wonder if maybe it could be a bit of a function of like how the game is faring. Right, that if the game was doing better, they would have been kind of like putting a bit more of a higher price tag to it. And maybe because therefore the sales aren't entirely as high as they could be, then they are just kind of not wanting to overshoot it too much. That's really hard to say at this point. I'm really loving to see how the DLC sold. Because quality-wise, I think they were alright, especially for casual audience, I think that they were good. Like legit. From the multiplayer point of view, you have different, of course, categories to look at, but I think that for single players they were pretty fine. So people probably don't have too much of a reason to complain about it. Looks like Giovanni Dotti, that's Scuddy, right? Yeah, that's Scuddy. Already bought it. Looks like. So yeah, I wonder if there's maybe something hidden behind it you can read into, but you can always speculate. No, and this is interesting, so we're gonna be getting it somewhere. I will be expecting maybe on the Summer Game Fest. That Summer Game Fest could be having like a release of it. It'll be kind of nice opportunity. Question is if they're gonna be wanting to invest the money into marketing because it will be expensive. But around that time frame would be cool. If they want to be having some kind of widespread appeal to people, then it might be interesting. No, nonetheless, also interesting is Ultimate Fan Pack. Yes, Blood and Bones Pack, it's gonna be all early. That's not entirely probably too interesting, but again, just kind of feels to me that these two are connected. Can't shake the feeling of that. So is there some kind of further information in here? Command the power of the harvest goddess herself, new god powers, myth units that reshape the battlefield. No, well, we will be getting into that with the god power that she was given. Bend the will of nature to your strategy. It kind of feels like that you're gonna be getting more kind of things of that rank. And this one actually right about now clicks for me. What you see on the screenshot. I'll be getting to it later. Those uproots in there. Yeah, no, well, that's gonna be basically like a recyclation of the god power uproot from the Chinese DLC on Extended Edition, where you had that, so that's most probably gonna be a good power, and therefore, Will of Nature to your strategy. Devotion, that's gonna be add-on your temples and town centers with shimmering gold. Again, needs to be right about now having the connections in my mind forming even now, but nonetheless, add on the temples with shimmering gold, that's gonna be this. Fairly certain this is gonna be already the DLC thing. This temple. This is gonna be a temple and it's gonna be a DLC temple. Feels to me. Otherwise it could be a wonder, but I'm betting on that being a temple from the DLC. Because of the right now information here, and display unique Pantheon icons and stand out as one of the faithful. Unique Pantheon icons. Oh, that's gonna be like god icons, right? Yes, it's gonna be just graphics normally. A witness warfare like never before. Visual overhaul introduces dynamic blood systems, prismatic essence for myth units. This one I have no idea what it actually could be meaning. What it's going to be. Made me kind of slightly think if maybe one of the minor gods for Demeter couldn't be... Jesus guys, at this point I forgot. The one with rainbow. Wow. Do I have her open somewhere in here? I probably don't. Iris, yes, Iris. I wonder if that's gonna be, if maybe she could be like a minor god, but from what I have seen, she doesn't seem entirely that influential. She was kind of like a bit of a messenger of gods as well. But she doesn't seem to be having anything all that super cool. And based on what we see on the picture, I'm having a different theory in there. But this kind of made me think that they could be just kind of having a mechanism for her god power or some abilities and just kind of tying it to something else. Why not? And evolving transitions that make each skirmish feel visceral and alive, exclusive to expansion pass owners. Now an Obsidian mirror. Centerpiece, most requested pantheons in franchise history. Oh, yeah, that's definitely true. Kinda maybe partially could be like an interesting last punch into the game. Again, just kind of ending with a bang, with the support would be kind of nice. But yeah, well, of course, we'll see. Maybe it's gonna be having some kind of a revival of the game, but probably by now we need to be hoping for the next game they are developing. Just in case you haven't heard and haven't seen, they are developing a new game in Unreal Engine. They were hiring some new developers a few months ago. So there is something going on. Either Age of Empires 5, you could be hoping for Age of Mythology 2, or it's gonna be another remaster of Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition. That would be kind of funny. But, I mean, like, they have Bethesda in Microsoft, right? So maybe they have learned a thing or two. And they have sold AoE 2 also a few times already, so... you never know. Maybe it would be their way to fix the pathing. 12 mission campaign, spanning continents and celestial realms, and divine monsters call upon the gods. Tezcatlipoca and Quetzalcoatl. I'm actually having quite a few things from Mexico because my brothers were 25 years ago in Mexico. So I have some kind of statue in here at home and the classic Aztec calendar and stuff. It'd be kind of cool things, maybe can be posted on Discord or somewhere. And lead your civilization through an era of obsidian, fire and sacrifice. You can probably look at Age of Empires 2, how the Aztecs are done there. Maybe even Age of Empires 3. They are as Indian settlements there. So maybe you can be seeing some kind of inspirations from that. I wonder if maybe some of the models are gonna be taken from AoE 3 directly. That will be easy work for them. No, it will be also right now making sense. Because again, as I mentioned, they are gonna be definitely cutting costs. Maybe that's the reason why we get even the DLC. Because they are making a Latino American themed DLC for Age of Empires 2. Same as when they did the Chinese for Age of Mythology, they released Age of Empires 2 Chinese DLC as well. So they are working together this way. And you can see like the same assets between the games. So easy cast got in, right? No, and well, I'm thinking that right now the information here, it's not gonna be anything extra around here. And I think it has the information that we have already read before. Something curious about these things, probably not. Not any kind of new developers added in. Release date 10th February, but that's because of when this is ending. So 10th February, definitely something to look forward to. No, and I guess you can be therefore getting through the information that's gonna be kind of maybe also tied through picture or... Yeah, let's go through the article first, and then we're gonna be getting into the further details, because here we're gonna be having some more info in general. So Demeter, one of the 12 Olympians and among the most revered goddesses of ancient Greece, reigned over harvest and agriculture. Celebrated far and wide as the bringer of food and fertility, her symbols of wheat, poppies, and the cornucopia not only presided over times of plenty, but also served as poignant reminders of the cycles of life and death. Her most famous story involves the kidnapping of her beloved daughter. If you have seen my video last time, then you know about this already. We have actually shown even the video about that. You can find it as a link on my YouTube under the video, or you can find it at Wizards and Warriors, sorry. No, Wizards and Warriors, yes. Wizards and Warriors channel, and they have like a whole, at this point, story about the Greek mythology they are going about. I think it's like the second video. You can find the story in there. It's very, very much recommend that series. It's really great to just get a bit more of a foothold in the Greek mythology and get some kind of ideas right. The AoE4 and AoM Japanese look very similar. No, well, that's gonna be some definitely crossover of some models I'll be expecting between the games. If they can be saving the work, then sure, makes sense. No, and Persephone by Hades, who intended to marry her. Upon discovering Persephone's disappearance, Demeter embarked on a relentless search across the world. Consumed by grief, she neglected her divine duties, halting the growth of life and plunging the earth into a devastating famine. Witnessing the unfolding catastrophe, Zeus commanded Hades to release Persephone. However, having consumed food in the underworld because he tricked her, when she was leaving, he was given her a pomegranate, and well, she's eaten it and she didn't know. But well, when you consume food in the underworld, you are gonna be tied to it, inevitably. So Persephone was bound by the decree of the fates to remain there part of the year. It was decided that she would spend half the year with her mother and half with her husband, thus explaining the changing of seasons. By the way, her original name was Kore. So she's gonna be obviously named Persephone in here. That's also how she's more named, but originally she's Kore. And during the winter months, when Persephone is in the underworld, Demeter's sorrow causes the earth to become barren. So command the power of the harvest goddess herself, and that's already what you have read otherwise. So her god power is gonna be a wither. It's one when I saw it, I was a bit disappointed, frankly, because I'm just kind of halfway thinking that they maybe did her a bit dirty, because she was venerated for bringing the harvest, not for destroying the harvest, right? So the whole thought of giving her something negative, I just think it's wrong. And at the same time, I understand why, because we already touched upon that. We already do have things that improve economy and especially improve harvest in the game. We have Shenong with the bonuses and we have Ra with the rain. So I understand they don't want to be doing for the third time. They could have maybe done some kind of variant. I don't know, some god power giving you berries, like the Fushi was having given you goats in extended edition. So that could have been like a god power, but it probably felt maybe too weak for them, I don't know. But yeah, this just kind of feels a bit not happy for Demeter, but she is kind of portrayed as an evil goddess, like a commanding evil goddess, even in the picture when you see here. Yeah, I don't kind of see that too much, that take on her. But whatever. That's how she's gonna be designed, and Demeter's god power unleashes a devastating wither upon a targeted area, drying out berries, plants, and trees, and transforming the terrain into barren wasteland where nothing can grow for a short period of time. So this is gonna be somewhat of a retaking of the drought god power from Chinese, right? I think it's gonna be somewhat based upon that. where if you cast it, you cannot be repairing. And I'm thinking that even farms cannot be built upon it, can they? Thinking that nothing can even be built upon that during the god power. So maybe that's gonna be legitimately just the god power with extra effect. That it's gonna be drying out also the berries, plants, and trees. However, as soon as I read that, I'm thinking this is gonna be super toxic god power, like legitimately, literally. But in the gameplay, this just kind of feels like super broken. Like absolutely super broken right now. Because just gonna imagine what happens. You're just gonna be completely ruining the early builds most probably. Because you can cast it at the very start, unless there will be some timer on it, which would be very stupid and weird mechanism. Then you're just gonna be heading into the enemy base first thing, right? And you're gonna be seeing where he plants a storehouse for the wood, and you're gonna be instantly destroying that. And if he's gonna be doing it next to the berries, you destroy that as well. I'm not liking it too much. Very interesting is that actually they mention plants here. Oh, that's gonna be probably meaning there for farms, I guess. I'm imagining it's gonna be meaning farms. It has to be. But it's gonna be therefore turning also into god power like Locust. If you remember in the original game, Locust was used for destroying farms upon heroic age research in some strategies and builds. So this is gonna be practically the same. You can just gonna do it early. So this is gonna be extremely prohibitive god power for build orders. And I'm thinking it's gonna be super broken if somebody's gonna be at least thinking about it. So yeah, I'm seeing plenty problems with this one. Depends on how they want to be implementing it, but with what we have here, the power itself seems extremely broken. So I wonder how they're gonna be trying to kind of make it work reasonably. I'm quite a bit worried about it, how it's gonna be working out. But we'll see, I guess. Gaia trees, obviously. No, that's a bit interesting. Because we don't have interactions between god powers, right? Kind of indirectly, you can say you have interaction between Eclipse into Ancestors, for example. That's maybe like an interaction, but like direct interactions against and between god powers, you don't really have. So I wonder if this is gonna be falling into a category where the Gaia trees could be destroyed too. I'll be probably for that. But I can understand if those would be immune. And then you could be having kind of idea who is more powerful, Gaia or Demeter. Obviously, it should be Gaia, right? So I wonder what kind of logic is gonna be there. But hopefully it's gonna be at least consistent somewhat. Carnivora is an interesting thought, but that one is god power. So that one, I mean like Gaia trees as well. But Carnivora feels like more of a creature, so I'm kind of thinking that's not gonna be already working that way. That will be already on the level or feeling to the level of maybe Forest Fire working to melt frost units, or frosted units, or frozen units. So that one doesn't seem likely. No, the short period of time is an interesting one. But you can say right now, barren wasteland where nothing can grow. This is gonna be meaning, like the same as the drought god power, that for about like, I don't know, half a minute, you can't build farms there. But I don't think it's gonna be like a temporary distraction. Maybe it could be. Maybe it would be a way around it. Maybe it would be a way around it, because if that would be, that's an interesting thought, Kati. Because if that would be the way, you could probably make it balanced. That probably wouldn't be as broken as I'm imagining. Yeah, like pestilence for food. No, that's a good thought, actually. That's kind of smart. Yeah, that would be a good implementation. That it wouldn't be complete, but it would be regrowing after. Because otherwise the god power really seems extremely powerful, especially for a archaic age god power. It's a good thought. Maybe it's gonna be actually just for limited time. But maybe at the same time also seems like a complicated mechanism to put in. But some logic is there. So yeah, that's an interesting thought for the wither here. Now, our myth unit is Siren. Although closely related to marine birds, these sea nymphs possess a human-like appearance and an enchanting voice used to mesmerize their prey. Gonna tie into the Odyssey, right? The movie that's gonna be coming up. They are involved in that. Sirens were once Persephone's companions until Demeter, furious at her daughter's abduction, transformed them into half-bird monsters. I think in that it was, if I'm not mistaken, because she was blaming them that they didn't protect her. What was it? Gave them wings to Persephone when she was abducted by Hades or something. Or were they supposed to be helping them? No. Yeah, Demeter cursing the Sirens for failing to intervene in the adoption of Persephone. So yes, she was just kind of angry that they didn't help enough. Sirens were fated to live only until the mortals who heard their songs could pass by them. No, you can find all the information, of course, around here. Because the internet further. So, clever, distinguished, and alluring, they usually conceal their monstrous features until the opportune moment to strike. This is very interesting. This is probably how they're gonna be working. I do wonder if they're gonna be... Basically, they're gonna be looking like, I don't know, some other unit. Maybe they're gonna be looking like a villagers. And only when they're gonna be attacking, they're gonna be turning into the monster. To be interesting mechanism. It almost looks like that it might be something like that. Either, or they're gonna be having some ability to do that. Maybe that's gonna be their ability to hide. Or maybe they're gonna be having ability to turn invisible. That could be like the other variant. But maybe that's something what this could be meaning. This is gonna be, of course, for Persephone, myth unit. There were some theories that maybe she could be like a scout for Demeter, but there's no reason. They're having Kataskopos already. So pretty sure that's gonna be like a myth unit for Persephone. And I'm thinking Persephone is gonna be a mythical age because she's kind of like important and super important to Demeter herself. So I'm expecting that they're gonna be powerful, especially with such an interesting god power. I'll be liking the like ability. I'll be liking it. So kinds of theories, maybe what else this could be meaning. But yeah, that's maybe some kind of thought. So either just like disguised as a villager so that you can not be recognizing them all that well. But frankly, if a villager is moving towards you, you probably know that it's gonna be something sinister. Or the other way is gonna be the invisibility. We already do have the invisibility mechanism through the farms of Shannon and the god power. So there is some kind of precedence for this. But yeah, we'll see about them. Okay, so for maybe some kind of further information on the Demeter, this is gonna be there for the fan pack. You can see it now showcasing what it's gonna be looking like on the TC. Support the themed collection, add-on temples and town centers with shimmering gold. Okay, we have seen that, and yes, we have also seen all of these that was posted on the Steam page. I think this is also the same. Yeah, so now it's gonna be there for time to have a look at the actual picture from the Steam page. You can see there, and what kind of information you can potentially get from this. So all kinds of interesting stuff, in my opinion, in here. So first, of course, takes your eye, or at least has taken my eye, is the lycanthrope here. This one is unfortunately quite a bit anachronistic, is a bit weird to say, but simply it's not what Greeks actually had. I mean, like, sure, Lycan comes from the Greek king, from King Lycaon. Yeah, of course, you know the myth where he was trying to deceive Zeus by feeding him his son's meat, and he was trying to see if maybe the gods are truly all-seeing and all-knowing. Oh, well, he of course knew, so tough luck, and he turned him into a wolf, an actual wolf. And I'm thinking there were some other stories where that actually happened, thinking I mentioned in that into like a real animal, so not any kind of lycanthrope or werewolf or anything. That's not what Greeks had. So this is kind of what I don't like too much, because considering how much they try to be putting in some kind of quotation mark realism into the mythology, that they will be holding true to real myths, this one is definitely an outlier and definitely wrong. So that's a bit of a shame, but I understand what they were trying to do here. I guess they just kind of ran out of myth units to figure out. I would be thinking that the Lycan is gonna be more like a Minotaur or Cyclops, so I'll be expecting him to be a second age myth unit. And that kind of ties me to, because the Sirens, I'm fairly certain that Persephone is gonna be mythical. I would be surprised if she weren't. So that's gonna be Sirens, Persephone will be mythic. Then Heroic Age, this is most probably gonna be some Heroic Age myth unit. You're gonna be getting to it in a moment. Now, and the Lycan, therefore, all you have left is the Classical Age. So it has to be the second. And I'm thinking that it could be tied to what we have here to the right. And that's, in my opinion, just like a hearth, right? And that's most probably going to be meaning Hestia as the god power, or god power goddess. As she was super important and she was left out of the game yet, as Hestia is no, practically she's taken always a part of any kind of sacrifice to the gods. And she was like quite an important piece, as she actually, there are several myths and whatnot, and she was replaced by somebody for the 12 major gods, by, was it Poseidon, or who was actually replacing her there? Let me see. I already forgot. Because she was supposed to be like one of the highest ones as well, but she kind of like supposedly gave up in one of the version of the myths, and somebody actually went there instead of her. Of the 12 gods. And you can see it now, her father Kronos, and I can say now she's very important sister to Demeter, Hades, Hera, Poseidon, Zeus, all the important ones. Okay, I wasn't entirely certain if I'm gonna be actually able to write the bot now. Find it somewhere here. Oh well, probably not. You're gonna be able to find the information as well. Don't be necessarily write the bot now. Getting stuck on this maybe at the end, but nonetheless, she's super important. So therefore, it's gonna be quite a bit fitting for her to be added in, and this seems to be quite a bit fitting, like the hearth and some kind of food making and whatever. And I'm having a bit of a theory that based on the fact that it's glowing, it could be something like a plentiful god power, but I'm thinking it might be working in a different way, as there are already some mechanisms, for example in Age of Empires 2, where you can be putting hair doubles into a building for Gurjaras, into a mill, and you are generating food through that. So I wonder if you're gonna be having some similar mechanism here. Based on the piggy, whatever. If you're gonna be therefore putting food into it somehow, not sure if it has to be the hair doubles or if it's gonna be some different mechanism, and you're gonna be therefore getting some reward for that. Not sure if it's gonna be not necessarily expecting favor, maybe simply some kind of other resources. Yeah, I mean, like there are of course some precedents for example, Fushi, and he's having the blossoms, the peaches, and you can be getting gold, food, and wood from that. So maybe this is gonna be some kind of mechanism to get different resources as well from the god power, or maybe it's gonna be also like a bit of a testing ground. I was also having a thought for the sacrifice mechanism, because I mean, like it's a whole bunch, right? This upcoming DLC cycle. So if you're gonna be having a real sacrifice in Aztecs, it would be making sense for them to potentially test that mechanism, how it works, with something else before that. They kind of like to be doing it. They usually did it across games, testing the mechanisms, but now they can be just doing it now. So yeah, either it can be just like simply as a plenty vault, you're just gonna be getting something from it early, but I'm thinking that since it's basically tied to cooking and the sacrifices and everything, I do wonder if it's gonna be having something to put simply food into it. Hair doubles are kind of like the most evident, right? Or if you be just gonna putting it somewhere next to berries or next to hunt, and you're just simply gonna be getting some bonuses from that. You also do have already that kind of mechanism from Japanese with their shrines. If you put them next to resources, you are getting favor from it. So there will be precedence for the mechanisms in the game already. But that's a theory. But since it's kind of glowing gold-like, then it's gonna be something special. So feels like it might be something specific. And considering all the colors on it, and obviously it's gonna be playable, you can get it therefore, and it's a building you're gonna be able to do. No, and the lycanthrope, again, just like they maybe didn't figure out what kind of myth unit to give her, which kind of makes sense. What are you gonna be giving? Meghestiad isn't entirely all that specific in like some kind of myth units as far as I found and as far as I have seen. I haven't seen anything, of course, and everything rather. So maybe there could be some kind of theories, but it kind of feels that way. Bit disappointed that we are going a bit more modern with the lycanthrope here instead of the real myths, but I guess probably hard to be figuring something out. We are having plenty of myth units already utilized. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I'm thinking this might be a special version of the temple, maybe from the DLC already. Because at this point, this is a whole pass, right? So you could be expecting all these things to be added somehow in the picture, almost. Of course, don't have right about now anything from the Aztecs, but you'll be expecting that. So it makes sense to me that this might be the special temple. Well, tell is certain if somebody can be deciphering what is actually going on here. If it's gonna be like the major gods and I don't know. But obviously this is right now Hestia at the top. And since she's sitting in there, makes sense to me. Either that or it could be, or Demeter, sorry, not Hestia. Demeter in there, so maybe at maximum it could be her specific wonder, hard to say. So that's gonna be there for the classical age for me, in my opinion. No, and heroic age. There are plenty of theories what could be actually the god in there, because it's not entirely all that clear. Thinking that Persephone and Hestia are kinda a bit of a given. But the middle one, it's kinda hard to find something. There are plenty of theories that people believe in Thanatos. Frankly, I don't, because I don't think it's all that much of a well-known god. Haven't heard much of him either myself, so I don't think so. Thanatos is like the god of transition into death, kind of like the peaceful transition into death. I guess he was important in the olden ages, but nonetheless, again, he's not entirely too popular. What I'm thinking a bit more, and it's also slightly circulating, I'm thinking that Pan is making a bit more of sense. Because Pan is kind of popular, decently known. I think he was kind of important in the olden ages. And right now he is also well known because of the Percy Jackson TV series, right? If you have noticed. So there's search for Pan in there, so he'll be just like very well clicking with the general populace and people. We kind of knowing about it, and he kind of makes sense. At the same time, there's a bit of a problem with him being, no, he's a pervert. That's kind of like his whole characteristic. That probably is gonna be the easiest to describe him as. And, well, bit of a shame that, of course, we have satyrs already given to the Atlanteans for Hyperion. But, well, that didn't stop us with other gods. I mean, like, there are some different myth units also taken elsewhere and stuff. So it probably doesn't have to be necessarily a huge problem. But that's my theory, that maybe Pan is making a bit of a sense. He's also a god of nature, and it ties him to the Dryad here. It's gonna be some kind of nymph. Like maybe direct Dryad, probably. They didn't have... Dryads are like a Celtic thing. They had nymphs in the Greece, and there, from what I've read about Pan, he was having several altercations with nymphs that he was trying to get. And, well, there are several stories of some of them being turned into trees. There's like one is specifically turned into a tree, and second was turned into reeds. And that's where the pan flute is coming from. That he then cut the reeds, didn't know which one was the woman he was wanting, and he just kind of made the flute out of it. Kind of seems maybe a bit morbid, but I guess he was hoping he's not gonna be hitting the correct one. But that's kind of like the story beyond the Pan's flute in there, because he was kind of hoping to be reminded of her every time he's gonna be playing on it. But nonetheless, this simply kind of makes sense to me. That this is gonna be some wood nymph, or the nymph turned into the wood because of him. There's gonna be some kind of connection there. And there were some kind of mentions of like hammer nymphs, I'm thinking were called. They're like wood ones as well. So just some kind of different version. Hammer dryads, okay, here. Okay, so the dryads in here as well. Maybe they were called the same. Okay, so the dryads were also in the Greek mythology. I was kind of thinking that they were a bit more into the druids, but I'm wrong in that. But yes, the Hamadryads are also the next potentially mentioned. And you can see right now even the picture with... Oh, that's the picture with Pan, right? And a Hamadryad. No, the Hamardryad. Hamadryad. I'm still with the Hamar because we had the Hamar troll, right? So I'm with the R in there. Or R. Is a tree nymph. Can see right now how she's actually portrayed in there. I think it's making perfect sense to me. That it's gonna be some kind of Pan connection with the nymph. And Hamar Dryad in here. So, because the Dryads are nymphs, so... Whatnot. Bonded to a certain tree, on which their life depends. It would be interesting mechanism if that was a thing. If they ever tried to some kind of specific tree. Or you could be having like a god power like that you be casting the god power upon a tree, and it will be summoning a nymph, the Hamadryad. It will be something like walking trees, but in a different version. Who knows, that would be kind of cool, maybe. Is the tree itself, with normal dryad being simply the indwelling entity or spirit of the tree? If the tree should die, the hamadryads associated with it would die as well. For this reason, both dryads and the other gods would punish mortals who harm the trees. So, that definitely seems like some kind of variant of that. And you can see, of course, the god power possible at the end. Yeah, it kind of feels like it's going to be, again, tied to that. Either it's going to be literally just uproot taken from extended edition, or it's going to be something, I don't know, some special technology to improve the wall in, something like giving palisades in front of stone walls. Could be some kind of combination of all of that. And hey, Sniper. So yes, I'm thinking that it's going to be there for Heroic Age here. Myth Unit and Pan. No, and for the Mythical Age we have already mentioned. No, and of course the last thing possibly to mention here is of course right now the dude all the way to the top. Obviously a hero based on the glow and everything. And I'm thinking it's quite a bit clearly Icarus. I don't think there's any kind of doubt about that, considering that if you're going to be zooming up on it, you can definitely see that he's having like contraptions through top, where he's having some straps for the wings. So I think that's quite a bit clear. It's going to be Icarus as the Mythical Age. It's going to be most probably Mythical Age, because getting a flying hero before Mythical seems to be pretty broken for a Greek. So I don't think you want to do that. So yes. I kind of wonder if he's going to be having just like a not always flying. And he's going to be having like a timer when he can fly. Something like, what is it, Quionkwe is the myth unit that lands and goes down. Lands, actually up. Lands and takes off. Like a rock, if I'm going to be going into that. So I'm thinking that might be like the mechanism that he's not going to be able to fly all the time, just to be mirroring the myth, where he flew too close to the sun. So we'll be thinking that that's going to be... I think there's not much of a discussion about that one. I also some kind of thought that maybe this could be a hero, but again, he doesn't glow. So I'm thinking that's going to be as a legit myth unit Lycan. On the other hand, having just like King Lycan in there, having ability to turn into a monster, be interesting special attack for the hero. But you don't have too many specials for the heroes, for the Greeks, right? Like legitimately just Bellerophon. The mythical ones are having specials. The others don't really. So that also kind of means that maybe he should be having the special ability. So yes, then maybe the ability is going to be simply the flying for him. Could be making some kind of level of sense. No, and well, probably isn't anything too much else here on the picture. Some standard towers, walls. Some people are maybe kind of looking at the possibility. Well, the berries are having a bit different color, a bit more orange than you'd be expecting probably. Maybe you're gonna be getting some new ones. The farms, it's kind of okay. I think we have seen it in different pictures. This kind of version of them. And next to the temple, is there something to be seen here really? Nah, these are some braziers, just nothing else. So yeah, I'm thinking that that's maybe most of the information that we are currently having here. Also kind of liked how they were having the classic Greek painting on the amphora there. That's kind of cool. So that's some kind of theories that I have currently that are making a bit of a sense to me. But of course, yeah, just legitimately guesstimating and guessing what's possibly going to happen here. But yeah, looks like it in about 2 months we might be getting already the first DLC based on the timings of all of this, if everything goes well. So that's probably going to be right now the information that we have so far gotten. I guess somewhere early in January, we probably could be getting some more info and more details. In January, there's the Japanese show, right? The King Computer show in Japan. That maybe could be giving us some information, some kind of teaser on something possibly. That could be. Also kind of with Icarus. I was kind of thinking of it if maybe we could be getting like a special power to also summon Daedalus. Because of course they were running away from the tower where they were imprisoned, both of them. But only Icarus, the Icarus just kind of went too close to the sun. Daedalus didn't, he survived. So maybe it could be also kind of some kind of special ability. But yeah, I guess it's gonna be there for it, what I have here. Sorry for that mistake with the Dryads. I was kind of thinking that I was maybe some kind of different term. Therefore I was confused with. But whatever, dryads are part of the nymphs. And of course there are the dryads that we already do have with the Hesperid trees. You can say now the Hesperids, nymphs of the sunset, the west and the evening, daughters of Atlas, also had attributes of the Hamadryads. No, well, so that's also kind of like a bit of a crossover. But maybe if you're gonna be therefore doing crossover with 3 dryads and 3 nymphs, then we could be doing the crossover with some satyrs or whatnot, and therefore the pun. So maybe it could be making somewhat of a sense. Or maybe there's gonna be some general change that maybe they will be replacing those for Hyperion. They will be getting some different myth unit, just to be making it a bit more logical. Hard to say. If maybe that's not gonna be some kind of complete misdirection, and this would be some kind of new myth unit for, I don't know, either for Thea or for Hyperion, whatever the case. But wouldn't be probably going entirely all that far on that. Okay then, so that's gonna be, I guess, some kind of information here in case you haven't noticed that yet. Of course, feel free to visit the Steam store pages and Xbox pages if you want to be pre-ordering that already, or if you want to be waiting for the release. Of course, pre-orders, never recommend them. Always it's an anti-consumer mechanism, and you do know what you are paying for. You do not know what you are paying for, so just kind of motivating devs to sell you something of an empty promise, possibly. You just never know. But here, I guess you have some kind of... No, it wouldn't be going on certainty, considering how they axed Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition and canceled the DLC there. But when you already pay for it, it would be probably a whole lot harder for them to cancel something. But well, that shouldn't be like a motivation that the more people buy this, the more likely it is they're gonna be finishing. I wouldn't be wanting to definitely go into that kind of mechanism maybe of thinking. But yeah, therefore thank you for watching, and well, hope maybe you're gonna be able to elaborate on some of the thoughts and maybe ideas and theories, and we're gonna be getting maybe some kind of further ideas in the community as well for the information. Some of the ideas I have also seen on the Discord for the Age of Empires, and I'm thinking on Boys Discord probably not, there wasn't too much of an information, but on Reddit I have also some theories and thoughts. But yes, most of these I kind of thinking are making sense to me. But yeah, thank you very much therefore for watching. Hope you enjoyed some of the information in here. Thank you of course World's Edge for the sneak peek into all of this, and for the surprises, considering for example the timeline when it's gonna be all released. And let's look forward to what we are actually gonna be getting in those several months. Okay then, so I've been Blackadder at Blackadder's Place. Thank you for watching, and see you later on some further videos.